Мы сейчас находимся в Сан-Франциско на студии Джорджа Лукаса, где он делает все свои спецэффекты. Так что давайте сейчас зайдем и посмотрим, что тут интересного. Сейчас здесь собрались журналисты, и мы готовимся к интервью с актерами. Все те, кто находится на студии, должны носить вот такие браслеты и еще именные бейджи. Давайте подойдем поближе. Вот его можно здесь потрогать. Кстати, он пыльный. Надо сказать Джорджу Лукасу, чтобы его протер. Запылился. Мы в ожидании пресс-конференции и интервью с главными героями фильма «Рокман».
And Ben Mendelsohn bringing up the an awesome jacket, of course. Okay. Hi guys, thanks for joining us. So I think we'll just start with the audience this time. Yes, who has the mic? Anybody? I see a hand. Oh, okay, perfect.
Hi, Neela from Australia. Felicity, I was wondering, there's a scene in the film where Cassian just has to stand back and watch Jin kick Stormtrooper butt, which I thought was fantastic. I wonder how you feel seeing yourself do that, and if the process of finding Jin for you was about maybe finding your inner warrior that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, well, it's in Jin's head, it's very clear she hates the Empire. So anytime she sees stormtroopers, she has this kind of very clear instinct to take them down. So I just tapped into that energy that Jin has, and I'd never done that kind of thing before. It was very new, the whole kind of physical preparation, that side of acting. I'm kind of used to lots of, talking in corsets, so it was really nice to be running around with a blaster and a baton to bash stormtroopers with. But it was an extraordinary process, and you work very closely with the stunt team who take you through every kind of move and moment and support you throughout the whole thing. And I'm very lucky to have a great support from the stunt team doing it. Thanks.
Hi guys. Hi, I'm over here.
Oh.
On your.
Oh, there you go. Wait. In the hat.
Hi. The movie looks fantastic, guys. Really excited for it. I have kind of a technical question for Gareth and I guess Kathleen.
There you go. And the hat.
Yeah, sorry. What format was Rogue One shot on, and why have you guys chosen the specific formats that you're shooting for the new Star Wars movie?
We had the difficult task of, we were kind of making a period piece as well. We were making a film that sort of would say to the crew and the designers, like, imagine this is set in 1977 and don't do anything we couldn't have done back then in terms of aesthetic. And that applied to the camera work to some extent, in that, obviously in today's cinema, we've got these 4K projections and things going on in IMAX, and this brand new camera had come out from Arri, and it was incredible, and it's like 4 times the resolution of normal film cameras. But Greg, the DOP, was like, okay, this is fantastic, but we also want to go back to the 70s with the analog kind of look of the movie. And so he got hold of this Panavision lens that's from 17mm anamorphic. They shot Ben-Hur with this actual lens. And for the first time ever in cinema, Arri and Panavision, which are 2 separate companies in the film industry, they came together to make one camera for Star Wars. And it was incredible. And for those who are technically minded, what the result is, you get this very narrow depth of field. So if you're focused on me, the background's quite blurred and the foreground's quite blurred. And it was a nightmare for the focus puller. There was this young guy called Jake, and he performed a miracle, because we were like there was battle scenes. We didn't put marks down. We were just running in there with the camera, and he was always getting the focus. We didn't drop any shot out of the movie because it was out of focus. And I think a lot of the beauty in the film is down to the cameras that we used. So it had that look of, it's like a modern version of the past, you know, is kind of what we're going for, which is kind of what Rogue One is trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I would just say that I think what's really great about the fact that we're now moving into these standalone movies is that we're bringing in essentially auteur directors like Gareth, and we're really supporting those directors and their vision, and we're looking at each of these movies without a rule book. We're basically saying, okay, here's a new story, a new movie, a new approach, what do we want to do? And we're very open to that. And I think it very much is in the spirit of what George Lucas did to begin with. I mean, he inspired ILM. Innovation and technological innovation was extremely important to him. And it's very much a part of the culture of this company, so that's what we want to continue.
Hey folks, to your left, Jim Davida with IGN. My question is for Kathleen. This film introduces into live action Saw Gerrera. Are there plans to introduce other characters from animated Star Wars shows into live action feature films?
You know, that isn't really the approach that we have. We don't sit down and start isolating a list of characters and then build stories around those. We really are starting with the stories themselves, and then if some of those characters might come in to what it is we want to do or say, we'll consider it then, but that's not part of the strategy, no.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, over here. Hi, Erin Whitney with Screen Crash. This question is for Kathleen. The Star Wars films have done a lot for female characters and female heroes, but the movies have yet to have a female director. And you recently said that a woman who has no experience with blockbusters wouldn't be suitable for a Star Wars movie. However, multiple male directors have had that opportunity. So I'm curious, why is it different for women? And
That's not true. So, this gentleman did Godzilla before we hired him to direct the movie. And that quote was taken out of context. And I, as you can imagine, have every intention of giving somebody an opportunity. So, if somebody actually moves through the process of making movies and wants to make a Star Wars movie and shows that they have actually stepped into the role on that level, of course we're going to consider a woman. That goes without saying.
Can you name any female directors that you think have potential?
I think there's many. And I've talked to most of them. So, there are many out there. So.
Thank you.
Danbra, StarWars.com.
Thank you. This is for Garrett. Can you talk a little bit more about the challenge of making sure that the movie synced up visually with A New Hope, which was made 40 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it was also conscious to some extent. We've watched Star Wars to death. Like, you guys, I think, have seen the opening of the film, most of you, not all of you. And it's kind of a reflection of Star Wars A New Hope to some extent. This is really a segue so I can get these guys in, because we went to Iceland to film the opening scene, and it didn't occur to me till later that when you think about A New Hope, you know, the very first time you see the antagonist come in, Darth Vader, it's a black guy in a black cape surrounded by white stormtroopers. And at the opening of our film, there's a guy in a white cape surrounded by black stormtroopers. And it's all these subconscious things where we're trying to take what's familiar but sort of invert it or twist it. And filming that scene with Ben and Mads, it was one of the hardest things we've ever filmed. When people say, what's the hardest scene you ever did? I think it was probably that one, because we were freezing our tits off out there. And the worst thing was this fog was coming in, and then it suddenly disappeared. So we'd set up these amazing shots, and we'd be really excited, and then suddenly there'd be a whiteout, and you couldn't see like 3 meters ahead of you. You'd have to wait, and then suddenly it would clear, and these are like two of the most incredible actors in the world, and it was just so good to just put them up against each other and go and let it unfold. And Ben is so relaxed in front of the camera that he would start like just messing around. Like, he's very playful, And I thought he was reciting Shakespeare or something, like to get himself into character. And then I would listen carefully to the lyrics and realise he was singing Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. And even like Frozen, I think. There was like times
Oh
where...
yeah, I did sing a bit of Frozen.
Yeah. What was it? We used to be friends or whatever?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I did that. We used to be friends. I can't. No, it's escaping me now. But yes, I remember it vividly.
Very intimidating, I'm sure. Next question.
Over here,
Oh,
it's
there we
Eric
go.
Eisenberg from Cinema Blend, over here on your left. Okay.
There you go.
So my question is for Ms. Kennedy. As we've talked about today, one thing that separates...
Okay. The first thing you have to do is just get over the fact that you're doing a scene with Darth Vader, and that takes that took me a little while because I am I'm a first generation fanboy, so I was it took a little while to feel like I could answer him with some solidity, like we could have a discussion, as it were. That took a little while, and also Darth is his gestures and his mannerisms are so familiar that finding someone that can execute that in a way that is fluid is its own skill set, and so that requires a certain amount of thought and consideration too when you're doing it. But you know,
There was a time, Ben, you all know Ben's work. He's got this ability to be, if he wants to be incredibly intimidating, and in the entire process of making the film, it was a kid in a candy store. We had an amazing time, and I kept thinking, I wonder if there'll ever be this moment where I'll see like some of the characters he's played or something pop out. And we were in the middle of filming the scene with Darth, and Ben was like, Gareth, I need to talk to you. And I was like, what's the matter? And he goes, I need to go in the corner and talk to you. I need to have a word. And it was like, oh shit, here we go, what's the matter? And we go over and I'm like, are you alright, Ben? He's like, nah. And it's like, what's the matter? And he goes, it's Darth fucking Vader. And I was like, I know. And we both had this little moment where we melted and we could just admit it, and then we turned around really professionally like, okay, we'll try and fix that. And we walked back.
It would geek out too. I mean, it's probably still pretty difficult to pull a scene with Darth Vader and like not turn into a child again.
And you can tell when he's coming on set, because we learned a little bit that we should do the rehearsals and talk through the scene without the costume. Because as soon as that helmet goes on, it's too intimidating. You can't give direction to Darth Vader. He tells you what he's going to do. And but then what happens is, film sets are really noisy, there's a lot of banging and pattering going on, and suddenly it just starts to get quiet, and you're chatting to someone, and why has it gone so quiet? And in comes Darth Vader, and he stands on, and the whole crew is just like a 5-year-old going like this. And it happens to everybody, and then you think, oh shit, I've got to go over and speak to him. And you have to snap out of it. It's probably one of the highlights of getting to do this film was little moments like that, and you're very aware of it. Everyone there is very aware of it, and you become the most popular person in the world the day you're filming those scenes, because you look round and there's
everyone turns up.
Yeah.
Everyone turns up to when Darth is there.
Yeah.
Next question. Yes.
Hi, Nye McGee with EUR Web. My question is for Gareth or Kathy. This franchise, or this film specifically, at its core, tends to explore like popular conceptions of like government, military, police, unity, and these are certainly topics that provide like valuable insights to students of film and people who are fond of American politics. So my question is, do you think that science fiction has an advantage to like explore these themes and allow these themes to be easily digestible to the audience without them feeling preached to?
Wow.
I guess another way of also asking it, obviously these films are entertainment,
I was just going to say, I think you're asking a question that's a broader question inside the world of entertainment, and certainly a form of escapism as a way to simplify complicated ideas. I think it's one of the things that's made Star Wars strong, is that those simple ideas have had good and evil very clearly drawn. And this movie is a bit more sophisticated and complicated, and does reflect, I think, a more complicated worldview today. So, yes, to some extent, this story might illuminate some of those things in a way that may start a discussion, which is great.
What's the overall message of the film? Is it just unity?
Teamwork and belief.
Thank you.
I think, fishtailing off of that, Mads, your character Galen is kind of a complicated character because he's not. I mean, he does, you know, he's involved with bad things. He's not necessarily a villain. What kind of approach do you have to like a character with that sort of complexity?
No, but he's I mean, I think that as actors we always try to find like the two sides of a character. But definitely it's in this one because he's working together with this gentleman on something that he believes from the very beginning has a project that has the ability to change the world into a better place. And so be it that it turns out that he's working on something that he didn't know, and for that reason he's in a gigantic dilemma. And for the reasons I will not spoil here, the dilemma gets even bigger. So yes, that's a gray zone here. As you said, it used to be maybe in the 70s, in the 80s, a little more black and white, but there are a lot of grays in here.
Behind you again. David Fern from Endor Express. I asked the cast earlier about their thoughts on their first action figures. I know Mads doesn't have one yet, but hopefully soon. And so I wanted to hear the cast on their thoughts of getting finally themselves in plastic form, and if Gareth could talk about the score by Michael Giacchino at all. After that.
We'll start with the action figures because that's always fun.
Where's you got one there?
Chris has a few.
I did get an action figure. I was very pleased because I think he's a lot better looking than I am. I think they accidentally modeled it on Diego or something. Easily confused. Yeah, it was a kind of surreal, amazing moment, to be honest. I remember kind of playing with those toys as a kid, and so to be part of that universe, you know, in plastic is an amazing thing.
Christmas shopping's easy.
Yeah, right. Slightly narcissistic, but yeah, giving everyone little versions.
Like, why are you giving Christmas? Why are you giving me Diego? I thought you wanted to be villain. Yeah, Michael did an amazing score for us. He's a massive Star Wars fan. I think a lot of us compete for who's the biggest Star Wars fan working on the film. And I go around his house, and you walk in the door, and in his main front room is, I don't know how big, but it feels like it's that big. But it's like 13-foot tall framed poster of A New Hope. And sort of joke like, oh, you didn't have to do that for us. And he's like, no, this has been up for like 13 years. And he said he listened to Empire Strikes Back soundtrack to death as a kid. And it's just, I think the vocabulary of that music is in him. And it just poured out. And there's stuff, I mean, you know, there's particular moments in the film, musically, especially towards the end, that is truly stunning and very emotional. And I think he just knocked it out of the park. We were very lucky.
I think that's all we have time for today. Just want to thank you guys all again for joining us. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
coming up here and speaking with us.
Yes. Hello, Russia. My name is Russell Paul. I'm the model supervisor on Rogue One. So one of the things that's special about Rogue One is, compared to something like The Force Awakens, is that Rogue One takes place right at the exact same time as Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. So it's sort of a special place in the Star Wars time frame. And so one of the challenges that we had was we wanted to make sure that we had our vehicles and our spaceships sort of fit right into the ships that we know, the X-Wings and Star Destroyers, and ships that we really, really recognize. So we wanted to have our ships really tie into that space. So what we did was we went back and we actually found some of the original miniatures that they used when they were making the miniatures for Episode 4. The model kits were used to actually add lots of little details to those ships. So we went back and we actually found what model kits they used when they were making things like the Millennium Falcon or the Star Destroyer. You can see all the model kits stacked up here in the back. And what we did is we bought versions of them, and we found them out on the internet. And then what we did is we made actual computer versions of all those miniatures that we could then use to actually do sort of in the computer kit bashing. So let me show you something up on the monitor. So what we have is, you can see here, so this is some of our individual little model kit pieces, and then we could actually use these model kit pieces to actually add detail to our computer models, and that way they had the same aesthetic and the same design and same feel that that the originals had.
Hello, Russia. My name is Mike Jutan. I'm with ILM Research and Development here in San Francisco, California. We're here today to show you some of the virtual production techniques that were used for Star Wars Rogue One. So here we have the ILM VCam, we call it, or virtual camera. And you can see here it's a wireless camera. It's actually an iPad here with a game controller attached to it. We've written some custom software. You can see the operator over here. That's Matt. And so I'm tracking these ships. I'm actually attached to the back of one of these ships at the moment, and I'm moving through space trying to capture a nice, kind of a nice framing of these ships. And I'll just stay inside the mocap volume here. So I can also frame in on the ships better using these sticks. I'm able to kind of like, pick my shot here as I like.
Nice.
So, and I sort of move along with this sort of predefined camera path. So what's happening here is this is real-time rendered. This is going through our proprietary computer animation software, the same software we use for animating all the movies here at Industrial Light and Magic. This is not a game engine. This is a real-time renderer. So this is kind of our full system, but it's rendering in real time, which sort of allows us to do this crazy stuff. Sort of specifically to Rogue One, what we did is we had the director Gareth Edwards set up many of these virtual camera sessions. So he wanted to be able to explore the scene. He wanted to be able to find some camera angles that that weren't previously defined, and we wanted to allow him to kind of have a paintbrush, if you will, a virtual paintbrush. So instead of telling us what camera angle he wants, or push it in like this, and then then I want it to go over and show the ships like that. He can really show us using the best kind of paintbrush that any director could have, which is a camera itself, which is kind of how sort of the most natural way to provide his vision to us. And so we've managed to get some great shots into the movie with a style that feels reminiscent of Gareth Edwards, because he himself was driving the camera.
Nice. May I try?
Please, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Can you film it?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
There we go. Okay, so I think you're still filming. Okay, great.
Now I'm flying here.
Yes, so you're attached to the back of one of those ships. Yeah.
Look to your left.
Okay.
So those ships kind of fly around. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I think I'm found.
That's awesome.
No, I cannot see the shape. Oh, here. What's going on now? Oh, this is the ship?
I think, yeah.
Should I move with this?
Yeah, you can. Yep. So this will boom and dolly. This will zoom you in a little bit closer. That's up and down, and then that's left and right.
Oh. I want to be there inside. Nice. Thank you so much for this
no worries.
experience.
No
Thank
worries.
you.